Like many original settlers, his father, Squire Boone, had left England and come by ship to America. Squire and his brother and sister had been sent by their father in 1712 to see a new colony that promised religious freedom for all, Pennsylvania. The Boones were members of a religious group called Quakers. This group refused to belong to the Church of England, their country's official religion. They also refused to fight in wars and felt they did not need priests or ministers to communicate with God. In England during the 17th and early 18th centuries, Quakers were persecuted for their religious beliefs. A fellow Quaker named William Penn had founded Pennsylvania in 1682. The Boone family was naturally drawn to the colony's vast forests and fertile valleys. Squire Boone and his siblings sent a message about the colony to their father, and the rest of the Boone family arrived in 1717. From the moment they set foot in the New World, the Boones were determined to own their own property. This was something that only the very wealthiest people could do in England. The Boones eventually ended up in Berks County. Their farm was on the edge of the explored area of the colony, even though it was not far from Philadelphia, the center of commerce and government in Pennsylvania, and an important colonial city. In 1720, Squire Boone married a Quaker named Sarah Morgan. Squire was a weaver by trade, someone who makes blankets and fabric by weaving wool, cotton, or linen on a loom. But by the time Daniel, the sixth of Sarah and Squire's 11 children, was born, on November 2, 1734, his enterprising father had also set up a blacksmith shop on his 25-acre homestead and grazed cattle. However, Daniel was always more interested in the woods and in hunting the wild animals that lived there than he was in farming. He spent every possible minute exploring the outdoors. Unlike most of his brothers and sisters, Daniel's formal schooling was limited. However, his knowledge of life in the woods was vast. By the time he was a teenager, he had become such an excellent shot with a rifle that he was repairing guns in his father's blacksmith shop and supplying wild game for the Boone dinner table. Daniel exhibited a daring as a young man that would be a characteristic throughout his life, and, unlike the normally peaceful Quakers, he refused to back down from a fight. Actually, by 1750, the entire Boone clan had found Quaker life so restrictive that they decided to leave their farm in Pennsylvania and move south, through Virginia to North Carolina, where they had heard that rich land abounded. The family set up a new homestead near the Yadkin River, on the very outskirts of colonial America. Because the Boones were living at the edge of the wilderness, they were periodically threatened by Indian tribes. The Native Americans did not appreciate white men invading their hunting grounds, and did not respect the settlers' claims to the land. Although some tribes were peaceful, the Cherokee and Shawnee could attack colonists without warning when they felt threatened. The Indians also fought among themselves over hunting rights and other issues. Worse, during this time, England and France were challenging each other over unsettled areas of North America. The British controlled 13 colonies stretching along the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, from Maine to Georgia. France, on the other hand, laid claim to eastern Canada, the Great Lakes, much of the Midwest, and south along the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico. And what they fiercely disputed were the fertile plains and valleys of the Ohio River, where animals like beavers and otter, valuable for their fur, lived in great abundance. To strengthen its claim there, France began establishing outposts in the disputed Ohio River territory. The French hoped this would keep the British colonists from moving farther west. However, since England had already built trading posts along the upper Ohio River valley, conflict was bound to break out eventually. The French were formidable opponents for the British, because the French had gone out of their way to befriend most Indians and trade with them. French trappers even married Indian squaws and lived among their tribes. They convinced many Indians to be their allies. Only the Iroquois, a powerful Indian nation in New York, Pennsylvania, and the Ohio Valley, sided with the British. In the winter of 1753, a 21-year-old Virginia militia, civilian army, officer named George Washington was ordered by his British superiors to cross 500 miles of wilderness and tell the French commander at Fort Le Boeuf, on Lake Erie to leave the region.